What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle. It's February 19th. We're going to hang out here and do some mock drafts using Fantasy Pro's mock draft simulator. Basically, we're gonna do 12 different quick simulations of a Superflex mock draft. I'm gonna simulate from each draft spot in a 12-team league, and we'll just kind of have fun and offer as many takes and information as I can. Let's go ahead and get the screen share working. If you guys are new to the channel, definitely subscribe. Check out thefantasyfellowship.com. Leave a comment, say hi, like the video, all that good stuff. And I can show you guys the settings real quick here as I have the screen share up now. I'm just doing Dynasty, rookies only, linear, just basic pick logic. Number of teams, 12. Draft position, number 1. And the QB settings are 1 QB, 2 running back, 2 receiver, 1 tight end, 1 super flex, 8 bench, 2 flex. Pretty standard stuff. And what we will do is we'll do this from the 101, and then it's a 3-round mock draft. It should be about a minute or so per draft slot. So I'll go through 1 through 12, all 12 spots, and we'll see what we can drum up here. So let's hit the start draft, and this is the 101 mock draft. Let me see if I can get some more zoomage on here. Switching to Brave browser. Okay, whatever. But yeah, if you have the Superflex 101, it really depends. Do you need a QB? Most people in a Superflex are always going to need a quarterback. So it's Caleb Williams. Like, that is the pick. Now, I do think you could go Marvin Harrison Jr. I actually have a dynasty league where I have Pat Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Baker Mayfield. I might have one more guy here. So, like, I would say I don't necessarily need Caleb Williams, but Caleb Williams could offer me a transition, to Dak Prescott at some point here. So 101 super flex league, you probably have to go Caleb Williams unless, if you had Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, or if you had something crazy where you're not going to start Caleb Williams for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I think then you can go Marvin Harrison. But keep it simple. If you have the 101, we're going to go Caleb Williams in this 101 mock draft here. And then we'll be up at pick 201. We'll see what we can look at here. I'll recap the picks that come through here. So let's go to the draft board here. So Marvin Harrison Jr. went 102, Jaden Daniels 103, Drake May 104, Malik Neighbors 105. I think you really, really, really want a top 5 draft pick. If you can find a way to get inside the top 5, you're guaranteed one of the elite receivers or one of the elite quarterbacks. So top 5 picks this year, I think, is kind of where it's at. After that, Rome Odunze, J.J. McCarthy, who's gaining some steam lately, Brock Bowers, Jonathan Brooks, RB1. Even though he's coming off an ACL injury, people still think very highly of him. Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, and Brian Thomas. Now, of course, we don't know landing spots. It's February 19th. We're just kind of having fun mocking and looking around here. And as I'm up at 201, it's saying Troy Franklin, number 1 receiver available, Trey Benson, number 1 running back available, Michael Penix Jr., and Adonai Mitchell here, the wide receiver. So a lot of good options here. I think, how do I look at, let's look at the cheat sheet here. So Troy Franklin is the top player available, Adonai Mitchell, Trey Benson, Braylon Allen, Michael Penix. Otherwise, no tight end yet. I'm not taking Jatavian Sanders. I think the obvious answer here is to run in Troy Franklin. I really like Troy Franklin. He's going to be a first-round wide receiver. I would actually have Troy Franklin ranked ahead of Keon Coleman, ahead of Xavier Worthy as far as wide receivers go. So I think you're getting a bit of a value here. If you're picking at the 201 and you can get a first-round wide receiver, and especially, man, like if he goes to Buffalo, there's some really good teams in the back end of the first round. So I will go with Troy Franklin. If you needed another position, I think it's probably Trey Benson for me at the 201. So we'll lock in Troy Franklin here and move on to our final 3rd round pick. And we're not going to make 4th round picks just because 4th round picks or whatever. Most people are picking veterans or whatever, they need to fill their roster there at the end. But we're back up here, 301. Let me recap and look at the draft board real quick. After I take Troy Franklin, you have Michael Penix Jr., you have Adonai Mitchell, Blake Corum, Trey Benson, Braylon Allen, Ladd McConkey. That would have been a good pick there. Xavier Legette, Bo Nix, Bucky Irving. I like Bucky. Jatavian Sanders, and Malachi Corley. So far, we have Caleb. We have Troy Franklin. I like the haul so far. Looking around here, let's go to the cheat sheet. Now, we already have a quarterback. We already have a running back. Probably don't need to take another quarterback here. I think Rattler, Pratt, Jordan Travis, we're kind of done there. I like the running backs quite a bit. Marshawn Lloyd, Audric Estime, Ray Davis. Those are three really good players. Jalen Wright's another sleeper of mine. I think he's going to be much higher on boards in a month or so after the combine. Tight end, not really quite interested yet here. So for me, it's close. I think Marshawn Lloyd is the running back that I like the best. If you're looking at wide receiver, though, like there's some really good ones here. And Jalen Polk, I really like Roman Wilson. I like Brendan Rice quite a bit too. So there's some good options here. But I think you keep it simple. We're going to run in the running back. If you took, say you took Trey Benson or a running back at 201 and you want to go wide receiver here, I think it's probably Roman Wilson. And again, a lot of that's going to be dependent on landing spot, but I would say Roman Wilson would be the highest one that I have rated. So we'll end the 101 mock draft here with Marshawn Lloyd, and we'll move in to the next one. But I'll just recap this here and we'll go into the 201 spot. So we ended up with Marshawn Lloyd. You see Roman Wilson, Devontae Walker, the wide receiver, Jalen Polk, Audric Estime, Ray Davis, Johnny Wilson, who's like 6'7", Jalen Wright, Cade Stover, Javon Baker, Jalen McMillan, and Isaiah Davis. So there's your 101 mock draft here. If we go back to restart here, I'm wondering if this this goes back to, can I go back to the settings here? Let's see, I'm going to go back to Fantasy Pros here. And to find this, you just go to NFL. It was in the tools section. Yeah, tools, draft simulator. And we'll set this up here again for you guys. So you're just going to go Dynasty, rookies only, linear, and we'll move into the 102 position here. So I have all the same settings as before, and I'll get a little bit quicker with this now that we kind of know the consensus top 36 picks. So, the 102 spot, again, I think it really depends. Caleb Williams was the player off the board here. It really depends. Do you need a starting quarterback? Because then I think you can make a case for Jaden Daniels or Drake May. With this mock draft, I'm going to assume that, hey, you already have two quality starters. You don't want to take a quarterback here. I think it should be either Marvin Harrison or one of the two QBs based on preference, but we're going to run in Marvin Harrison Jr. here as the number 2 overall pick, and then we'll kind of follow along here on the draft board, and I'll let you guys know what's going on. See if there's any variations from the mock before. But we're looking at Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Brock Bowers, Jonathan Brooks, J.J. McCarthy, Malik Neighbors falling all the way to 108, Rome Odunze, Keon Coleman, Troy Franklin at 111, Brian Thomas, and Xavier Worthy. So we're up at the 202. Adney Mitchell, Trey Benson, Braylon Allen, Michael Penix, Blake Corum, Bo Nix is kind of sliding here. Ladd McConkey, Bucky Irving. I'm not sure which one I prefer here. We already got Marvin Harrison Jr., so I don't think we need to grab one of these receivers. I'm okay with Adney Mitchell, but I'm not in love with him. I think I actually like Ladd McConkey a little bit better. So it's probably looking like a running back here, whether it's Trey Benson, Braylon Allen. I'm not a fan of Blake Corum. I really like Bucky Irving, though. So based on landing spots, I'm going to probably have those running backs get filtered out here, but I think that's probably the move. If you needed to take a chance on a guy like Bo Nix, I think I would have Bo Nix ahead of Penix, but we'll go ahead and get one of my, I think Trey Benson's really solid. He's kind of an all-around back here, better gap runner than he is a zone runner, but I think he can do some zone runs. So his landing spot's going to be huge. I'm going to go Trey Benson here at the 202, and we'll move on to the final third-round pick and see what we can drum up. After I took Trey Benson, Ladd McConkey, Penix, Nix, Corum, Mitchell, Braylon Allen, Audric Estime, Jatavian Sanders, Johnny Wilson, Malachi Corley, and Bucky Irving. I like Bucky Irving quite a bit. So we're back up to pick here. We did take Marshawn Lloyd in the draft before. He's just kind of the best all-around running back, I think, at this point. So I really, really, really like Marshawn Lloyd. And honestly, I kind of like taking two chances at running backs, because running backs, they have such a small window to hit, and it's kind of like, 50-50. At this point, we just like collecting good players. So it's probably Marshawn Lloyd would be the pick again. Otherwise, I think Ray Davis is a high-quality back. I'm not a big Will Shipley fan, but I've mentioned a couple times, Jalen Wright is someone that I keep coming around to. But I think at this point, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to go Marshawn Lloyd. Again, he's a player that played at USC, kind of got hidden behind Caleb Williams' offense a little bit, and I think he's going to be a really good player at the next level. So there you go. We just finished the 102, and I'm going to move on to Pick 103 in a Superflex PPR mock draft here. So let's get that fired up. Pick number 3. All the settings are the same. And let's see what the simulator spits out at us. So, wow. So that can't be right. They put Jonathan Brooks 102. All right, well, that's wrong. That's not going to happen in a Superflex league. It could, maybe, but I just don't see it. So that's a little strange here. If that was the case, you're running in Marvin Harrison, you're running in a top QB, because I'm going to kind of ignore that. So because Marvin Harrison Jr. is available, I would assume he would go 1 or 2. So you're looking at Jaden Daniels or Drake May here. Now, I think the recipe for Jaden Daniels is he's going to be more startable in fantasy ready year 1 because of the rushing upside. I think Drake May is the long play. So based on what your team needs, do we need to plug in a top 10 quarterback now? I think that's Jaden Daniels. Do you need to plug in a top 10 quarterback in 2 years? Then it's Drake May. So I would say do what you need to do. I'm going to go Jaden Daniels here at 103, and we'll move on into the second round of our draft. Let's go to the draft board and just look around and see what other weirdness is going on here. So Marvin, Malik Neighbors at 5, JJ McCarthy over Drake May is kind of crazy. Rome Odunze at 8. So, hey, if you're picking at 108, sometimes Odunze can fall there. Brock Bowers at 109, Brian Thomas, Trey Benson, Keon Coleman, Troy Franklin, and Blake Corum have all gone off the board. We're back up at 203 here. Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Braylon Allen, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Lad McConkey. Not sure which one to go with here. I really do like both Texas receivers. I think Adonai Mitchell is more of a big play kind of outside receiver. Xavier Worthy is more of a guy that can be, you get him the ball quickly in space and see what he can do with it. He's very fast, more of a route runner than Adonai Mitchell would say. So if you need a good wide receiver, I like taking a chance at one of the Texas guys, but I think I'm going to go Lad McConkey here. Lad McConkey he's a very good route runner. And we're going to see that very quickly, I believe, at the next level. I think Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy have a wider range of outcomes. I'm going to go with the safe pick at wide receiver here with Lad McConkey. And hopefully wherever he goes, he can just be a little slot receiver soaking up targets in the zone. But after I take Lad McConkey, Worthy, Penix, Johnny Wilson, Malachi Corley, Adonai Mitchell, Bo Nix, Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving, Jatavian Sanders, Jalen Polk, and Cade Stover. We got one more shot at it here. Marshawn Lloyd keeps falling to me here. I'm not taking one of these project QBs. Tight end, you can maybe take a stab at Jaheim Bell this late. I think he's an interesting player. I'm kind of interested in Xavier Legette. He's a guy that very old. He's 23 years old, but he had a really, really good 2023 season. Like his tape is really fun to watch, but it's kind of weird. He didn't really do anything his first 4 years at school. So don't really like the breakout age there. I think Roman Wilson is an interesting pick. We've already got, have we taken a running back yet in this? No, we got Jane Daniels, Lad McConkey. Didn't take a running back yet. So I'm going to grab a running back here. We've already grabbed Marshawn Lloyd twice. I'm going to grab Audric Estime here, the Notre Dame running back. He's a really big back. He can do a lot of things. I don't know about how successful he can be as a receiver, but I know he's a quality running back. So we'll grab him here and see where he lands. But that's the 103. That was kind of a weird mock draft. We'll go back here and see what we can run at the 104 for you guys. So we're just setting up everything as the same. Pick 104. And let's rifle it off. Let's see what kind of weirdness we get with this one. Get out of here, alert. All right, so Caleb Williams, Malik Neighbors, and wow, Jonathan Brooks. Fantasy Pros really, really, really liked Jonathan Brooks. So it's another one of those weird ones where we get a chance at Marvin Harrison Jr. If you can get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Marvin Harrison Jr. or Jaden Daniels at the 104, I think you do it. I'm going to assume that those guys are off the board, and I'm going to do a mock here with Drake May being the QB1. I'm assuming he's going to go 1 or 2 and 103 overall, whether it's the Commanders, the Patriots, or a team like Denver trying to move up here. Drake May is really good. Don't mess with it. So I'd lock him in 104 Superflex League. I'm excited for Drake May's future in the NFL. Round 2, pick number 4. It looks like we just missed on Franklin, Worthy, and Blake Corum here. 3 running backs off the board, 1 tight end off the board. So let's see what we got here. Adney Mitchell, Braylon Allen, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Lad McConkey, Bucky Irving. I'll tell you what, I haven't been able to take Bucky Irving yet. I like Braylon Allen a lot. I think he is kind of like a James Conner type prospect where he's going to be, and James Conner is actually a really good receiver. But you're talking about Braylon Allen being a bruising kind of back where he's going to get a lot of volume. Don't know how much wiggle he has or how many receptions he can get in a season. So I think Braylon Allen's kind of a more of a one-dimensional player. Bucky Irving can be a two-dimensional player for you. He can break any big play. He can catch. He can do everything. The only thing that he's not too good at is pass blocking. But I would be pretty excited to get Bucky Irving here. So we haven't called his name yet. I think he's a really exciting RB prospect. So we'll grab him at the 204 here. So 104 we got Drake May. 204, we got Bucky Irving. I'd like to finish off with a wide receiver here. We just missed out on Marshawn Lloyd, Jalen Polk, and Devontae Walker. There's going to be some wide receivers here that we like. Let's look at the cheat sheet real quick. Xavier Legette, I've talked about him a little bit. Roman Wilson. Have I taken Roman Wilson yet? I don't think I have, and I kind of want to. So he was in a low volume passing offense at Michigan, but man, oh man, he had some really nice stuff on tape there with JJ McCarthy. So I'm excited about Roman Wilson. I think he can be kind of like a Chris Olave type player, a high efficiency guy that can do kind of everything. So Roman Wilson, quite a steal. I think he's a second or third round pick in the NFL draft. But let's keep it moving. That was 104. We're going to move on to 105, and let's get the same setting set up. Alrighty. And I will go ahead and move that here, and let's just hit start. At 105, again, I kind of mentioned 105. You really want to be in the top 5 this year. You're getting a chance at 3 QBs or potentially the top 2 wide receivers. So in this draft, you do see this is more prototypical, even though Caleb Williams is number 2. You see both 3 QBs go and Marvin Harrison go. So this is like more legit than the ones we've done in the last couple drafts here. So suggestions-wise, Malik Neighbors, I really don't have any other thoughts here. It's very easily Malik Neighbors is the best player available. Romo Dunze, maybe if you fell in love with his landing spot over Malik Neighbors, but if Malik Neighbors goes to the Chargers, man, we're going to be super excited about him. So I'm going to lock him in. He's my number 5, 105 pick here. So very excited about Malik Neighbors. Yeah, we'll see what we can get at 205 now. And we just missed out on Corum, Penix, Worthy, Lad McConkey. At the 205 here, we already got Neighbors, so we could take a look at the running backs. I wouldn't mind taking a look at some of the wide receivers as well if we like them. But Trey Benson probably should be off the board right now. Fantasy Pros seems to really like Adney Mitchell, which I'm open to. He's one of those guys that to me, he needs the perfect landing spot for him. Guys like Lad McConkey, maybe even Roman Wilson. I'm not too worried about their landing spot because I think they're kind of do it all kind of players. But a guy like Adonai Mitchell, he needs to go somewhere where there's an established quarterback, a good offense system that can kind of take care of him. So at this one, I'm going to go Trey Benson here. We've already kind of talked about him. I think he should have been off the board by now. He's probably going to go anywhere late second round pick. For sure, third round pick on draft day. We're back up to pick here at the 305. We just missed out on a couple receivers here. Marshawn Lloyd, Bucky Irving fell pretty far here. What is it telling us to do? I mean, Jatavian Sanders here fell pretty far. I think he is kind of like flirting with the end of the second round as far as the NFL draft here goes. So we haven't called his name yet. I think Jatavian Sanders is an exciting tight end. Obviously landing spot's going to be a big one, but every team needs a tight end like him. And I think he's the clear number 2 right now. We'll lock in Jatavian Sanders here at the 305. And there you go. That is the options for the 5th overall pick. If we go back, let's take a peek here at NFL Home Tools. And I'm going to open up a couple of these. Alrighty. So we're on to the 106. There we go. We'll hit start this bad boy up. All right, in 106, obviously, I've kind of mentioned who I think is in the top 5. If you can get any of those guys to fall to you, I think you're going to have a good time at 106. And Fantasy Pros keeps pumping up Jonathan Brooks here, which I don't think he's a top 5. I don't even know if he's a top 10 pick. But they have the 3 QBs. They have Marvin Harrison Jr. in there. If you can get Malik Neighbors or one of those top 3 QBs to fall to you at 106, I think that's the slam dunk pick as of today. more realistically, if you're 106, you're probably deciding between Rome Odunze and Brock Bowers. In this case, I'm going to ignore this because we've already kind of talked about Malik Neighbors. I think he's a top 5 pick. If you can get him there, I will go Rome Odunze over Brock Bowers, just because I think wide receiver a little bit more important than the tight end position. I really do like Brock Bowers. If you needed a tight end, say you had nobody at tight end, you can maybe argue that Brock Bowers should go ahead of Odunze, but I'm pretty excited about Odunze. He's really well rounded, and I think he's going to fit in anywhere he goes. So I will go Odunze here at the 106, and we'll see what we can find here at 206. We have just missed Bo Nix, Benson, Mitchell, Penix, and Troy Franklin. So you have 6 QBs off the board before the 206. And let's see what they are offering here. Braylon Allen, Blake Corum, Ladd McConkey, Bucky Irving, Jatavian Sanders, Marshawn Lloyd. So I will let it be known, I'm not a huge Blake Corum fan. I think I like the tape. I like the vision. But man, oh man, the metrics look pretty bad. He's also he's small. He's 5'8". He weighs fine, but a lot of his advanced metrics ranked last or near the bottom 5 of his draft class. So slightly concerned there. I would rather have Braylon Allen. I'd rather have Bucky Irving over him. And we haven't taken Braylon Allen yet. So I'm going to go ahead and take Braylon Allen here. And man, I think he's one of those guys that the combine could be really, really huge for him, because everyone thinks of him as a bruiser. But if he goes out and runs, like a 4.38 or something crazy, everyone's going to change their minds on him a little bit. So he has a lot to prove. We just missed on Ray Davis, Cade Stover, Roman Wilson. 306 here. Let's see what we can find. Marshawn Lloyd keeps falling. I like Malachi Corley quite a bit. Jalen McMillan's kind of fun. Brendan Rice, I haven't called his name yet either. But I think if this is the case, I think Malachi Corley is a wide receiver worth taking a shot on. He played at a small school, but he turned a lot of heads at the Senior Bowl, and he's also starting to put up a lot of mock drafts. I'm seeing him inside the top 50 or so. So I think he's a small school guy that's pretty exciting to bet on. We'll take Malachi Corley here. And we come away with Rome Odunze, Braylon Allen, and Malachi Corley. So I'm not really finding a lot of quarterback. You can see there's no quarterbacks really worthy after the second round here. So we'll try and evaluate that as we go. But let's move on to the 107 here. Start a new mock draft. Pick 107. Alrighty. And I think there's a pretty clear top 7 in my eyes here. There's no running back, so they keep freaking pumping Jonathan Brooks up here, which again I think he's really good, but it's not. This is not good, Fantasy Pros. But anyways, if you're picking 7th, you need to expect the top 3 QBs to off the board. You need to expect Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors off the board. Those are the top 5 picks. 106 and 107, I think, again, it's made for Rome Odunze or Brock Bowers. Now, at 106, I just took Odunze. Say my starting tight end is, I don't know, say it's not good. Say I had freaking Tyler Higbee and Cade Otton last year. In this case, I'm gonna look at Brock Bowers here. And it's weird because this mock draft really tossed us some weirdness. But to me, I think I'm going to have Brock Bowers ranked as like my consensus number 7 player. So I'm going to start this one with Brock Bowers, and we'll see what we can do. And man, like I've seen him mocked as high as 5 overall. I think he's more likely to fall a little bit farther than that, but he's clearly a first-round talent, very exciting, 3-year productive player from Georgia. At 207, we just missed on both Penix and Bo Nix and Ladd McConkey, so that hurts a little bit. As far as best players available, Adonai Mitchell, Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving's the tight end, and we've kind of called a lot of these guys' names here. I have yet to click on Adonai Mitchell. So I think there's a bit of a drop-off at wide receiver here, even though I do like Polk and Leggett and Wilson. We did grab the tight end, so it makes sense to maybe grab a different player here. But hey, if Adonai Mitchell goes somewhere where the landing spot is really, really good, but like if he goes to the Steelers, if he goes, I don't know, the Titans, not as good landing spots will scare me for Adonai Mitchell. If he goes to Jacksonville, if he goes to, I don't know, I'm thinking out loud here. If he goes somewhere where there's a young QB and we like that passing offense, then I'm on board with Adonai Mitchell here. So I'll grab him here, and we'll move on to the 307. And I'm gonna now that I'm in the back half of the draft, I'm gonna start looking for names I haven't called and kind of giving you guys some players to keep an eye on. Devontae Walker, Ray Davis, Jalen McMillan, Brendan Rice, and Jalen Wright. These are all really quality players here. And guess what? I haven't called Brendan Rice's name yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and do so. He's one of the most efficient wide receivers in this class, and it's not every day that you can draft a former Hall of Fame son. So you have Marvin Harrison Jr., Brendan Rice, and Frank Gore Jr. In this class. It's kind of fun. So we'll grab Brendan Rice here, really productive receiver out of USC, and hopefully one of those receivers can hit along with Brock Bowers in the 107 mock. So there you go. We'll move on to we're at the 108. The 108 here. And honestly, the 108 probably it's my least favorite spot to be because you're probably going to miss out on someone pretty dang good. And again, Fantasy Pros keeps mocking weird stuff here. They keep moving Jonathan Brooks up. They got JJ McCarthy going 106. So there's some weirdness going on here. I've already, established who I think are the top 7. If I'm seriously picking at 108, you're probably looking at maybe JJ McCarthy. You're probably looking at Keon Coleman, Brian Thomas, Troy Franklin, those type receivers here. So I'm not going to pick Neighbors, Odunze. I'm assuming those guys are off the board. Realistically, I think it's between McCarthy. It might even be Jonathan Brooks. If we love his landing spot and think, oh no, he's a guy that is going to be okay for 2024, but I expect him to be the top 10 running back in 2025. I think that's worth a 108. But in this one, I'm going to go with Brian Thomas. He's my wide receiver 4. This is the guy, man. If he goes to Buffalo or somewhere really exciting in the back end of the first round, his stock could shoot up dramatically. He's a huge wide receiver, led the NCAA in touchdowns last year. High profile, exciting ceiling for a guy like Brian Thomas here. At 208, we missed on the quarterbacks here. Blake Corum, Trey Benson, and Jonathan Brooks. Only 3 running backs off the board. If that's what they're going to spit out, you probably have to go with running backs here. Braylon, Bucky, Marshawn Lloyd, all these guys here at the available. At this point, I'm just flipping a coin. If I had to rank them right now, I'm probably going to go Bucky, Marshawn, Braylon Allen. So I'm going to continue to take the talented Bucky Irving here, who's a guy that I think offers more PPR value than Braylon or Marshawn Lloyd right away, and he's also a little bit more explosive. In a way, he's a mole. He's similar to Devon Achane. Just his only issue is he's not as good of a pass blocker. So Thomas, Bucky Irving, and at the 308 here, what can we do? Ray Davis, Jalen McMillan, Brendan Rice. I'm going to finally get one of my favorite running backs here. And this guy is going to blow the combine away. Jalen Wright. He is a speed back. He reminds me of Aaron Jones when I watch his tape. He's not going to be a 3rd-round pick come April, but if you're drafting now, go ahead and grab Jalen Wright out of Tennessee. I think he's a slam dunk pick at this point of the draft here. So there you go. The 108 is done. We'll move into 109. And I mean, at this point, I'm kind of regurgitating everything that I've already been talking about. So we'll try and offer up some different names for you guys, and maybe I click on some different players. But we're going to be, not a chance here for the top 3 QBs or the top 2 receivers. I think you might have a chance at, if you're 109, you're hoping for one of McCarthy, Odunze, or Bowers to fall to you. That would probably be best case scenario, honestly. I'm not going to take Odunze. I already talked about Brian Thomas. Honestly, I'm not excited about Keon Coleman. I'm very concerned about him. I'm going to have him ranked a lot lower in my rankings. So if this was the case, I'm obviously taking Odunze. I could maybe take a Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. here. If I love that landing spot, I'm totally open to doing so. But I'm gonna collect Brian Thomas Jr. again here. That's probably the most wise pick that I can make at this point with what's been given to us. But anyways, what are we at here? The 209, we just missed on Jatavian Sanders, Trey Benson, Ladd McConkey, Braylon Allen. Blake Corum's falling, Bucky Irving, Marshawn Lloyd, Jalen Polk. At this point, I'm gonna take Blake Corum. If he goes to the Chargers, I could be convinced. Overall, I'm not super excited about Blake Corum, as I mentioned, but I'm willing to be surprised here. So we'll grab Blake Corum here to pair with Brian Thomas Jr. And one final pick before we go. Ray Davis, Jalen McMillan, Brendan Rice, Will Shipley, Cody Schrader's an interesting player here. Not too many guys I like much farther down the list. I'm going to grab Ray Davis here just to give Blake Corum some competition. He's an exciting runner. I think he can kind of do everything well. He's more of a gap type player. He can he can kind of do everything well. I think Ray Davis is a guy that is going to probably benefit from a nice combine here. So Ray Davis, running back out of Kentucky. There you go. So the 109, Brian Thomas, Blake Corum, Ray Davis. Let's get it to the 110. And we're almost done here. So if you're still hanging out with me, don't forget to like the video, comment with some questions or some good picks or players that you guys like. Let me see what we got here. Let's get rid of that. All righty. Jalen Brooks, 101. Jesus. Jonathan Brooks, my bad. The mocks are getting a little weird here. But anyways, the cheat sheet will tell us JJ McCarthy. And I haven't been able to click on McCarthy's name yet. So I'm going to pick JJ McCarthy here. If he falls to the 110, I think that's a great pick. I've seen him, go as high as the top 10 in the NFL draft. If he does go somewhere where he can be a starter this year, you're going to be happy with what you got. So the offense there at Michigan, he wasn't asked to do too much. I think he can offer more at the next level and be kind of like a Brock Purdy plus. Honestly, I think he's a better athlete. So we got McCarthy, 210 here. We're looking at Braylon Allen falling, Jatavian Sanders, Marshawn Lloyd. Braylon Allen should be off the board here, so I'm just going to run that pick in. And then maybe I'll offer, at the 310, we'll offer one more wide receiver sleeper here that you guys might want to take a peek at. And it's Brendan Rice. I think Jalen McMillan's interesting out of Washington here, but Brendan Rice is a guy that I think if I can get him at the 310, I'm pretty excited. He's not going to be, I don't think he's going to wow everybody at the combine, but he's a very sturdy wide receiver, good outside player. I think he can do more at the next level. And Caleb Williams, he really kind of spread the ball out the last couple of years. Brendan Rice did have 12 touchdowns last year too. So he's a really good playmaker. I think he's going to be a quality number 2 receiver on a team. But there you have it, the 110 options for you. We got 2 more left. 111 next here. Let's go to 11 and let's see what we're looking at. And 111, you're looking at a running back or a receiver. Probably you're not going to have a good time looking at the QBs. All the top 4 QBs are off the board. I suppose if I needed a Bo Nix or Penix, I could do it here. Not a fan of it. But honestly, you're looking at Brock Bowers here would be quite the steal. I don't expect him to be there in a super flex draft. So it's between Keon Coleman, Troy Franklin, Adney Mitchell. I think we're pretty locked into Troy Franklin being that guy for me. So I will go Troy Franklin here, and we'll see what other running backs we can find in the 211 spot. And Bucky Irving falling here, I think would be a slam dunk. Marshawn Lloyd would also be a pretty nice pick here. Jatavian Sanders, the tight end, if you needed somebody here, I think that's a good spot for him. Looks like we just missed out on Corley, Corum, Lad McConkey, and Bo Nix here. So I'm happy with the Troy Franklin pick. I will pair him with a Bucky Irving. So I got 2 Oregon Ducks on this Dynasty squad from the 111 spot. And our walk-off pick here at 311, Ray Davis, we called his name. Brendan Rice, another name here. I really like Ricky Pearsall. He could be a nice option if he gets in a good landing spot. I think Jermaine Burton's interesting. Jamari Thrash, another interesting player here. The quarterbacks are pretty beat up. I'm going to offer one here for you. Malik Washington, he was a beast from the slot. If he goes, round 4, I think he could be a guy that could lead his team in reception someday at the next level. I'll grab Malik Washington here at wide receiver and call it good. And then one more for you. The final 112 spot in a Superflex mock draft. Let's see what we can drum up here. Man, they just love. I can't believe how much they have Jonathan Brooks favored in their system here. So Williams, Daniels, McCarthy, May, all the quarterbacks are gone. The top 4 or 5 receivers are going to be gone. This is probably where you're pulling a pretty good running back here, and we can look at wide receivers later. I don't really like Coleman, Mitchell, Worthy as much. I haven't taken Worthy yet. I think I'm going to go with Trey Benson here. He's probably going to be the 2nd or 3rd, if not 1st running back off the board. So that's probably where I'm going to go. But you know what? I haven't called Xavier Worthy's name yet. I'm gonna go with him. I think he's an exciting player. Landing spot's going to be crucial. He could be a fringe 1st round pick. out of Texas. Otherwise, he's going to go somewhere and be kind of like a nice number 2 type wide receiver for a team. Picking at the 212 spot, Bucky Irving, I've hit these names hard. Haven't called Jalen Polk yet. I think he's an interesting prospect. Audric Estime, we talked about him. If they keep giving me Bucky Irving at the 212, I'm going to keep doing that. He's a guy that excites me. He's very explosive. And the final pick, 312 of this mock draft video. Let me see if I can offer up anybody else. I like Isaiah Davis quite a bit. He was, I think, the leading rusher in NCAA last year. Small school guy, I think South Dakota State, but he can run. He can run really, really well. So we'll take a stab at him. And there you have it. I'll probably do another one of these videos at some point here after the combine, but I just wanted to have some fun mocking and get some names and some ideas out for you guys. Let me know what you think. If I made any good picks or anything that you guys would have done differently, let me know. Either way, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.